What's going on today, guys? My name is Ryan, and today we're going to be discussing a 2016 Ram 5500. This is a single cab. This is a mechanic's truck. 2016 though, Ram 5500 with a 6.7 Cummins that the truck would not start. It would not even turn on. So literally the dash, like, you would stick the key in and nothing would come on the dash. The radio wouldn't come on, and when you stick the key in, see, it chimes, but beforehand it wouldn't even chime. This was a very odd problem. This actually is my personal truck. I've only encountered this one other time on my old service truck. It was a 2011 Ram 5500. But at least on my old truck, it would, at least when I would put the key in and turn the key positions over, it would, at least the dash would come on and the radio would come on. But in this case, I had absolutely nothing. And this is a pretty common problem on these trucks. It's really bad. These two components are known for failing. This one actually more so than this. So here's the ignition switch, and then here is the RF hub, the radio frequency hub. In the older Rams, so like my old service truck, a 2011, everything was built into this ignition switch. They didn't have these yet. They just had an ignition switch, and everything was built into it, and this was called a WIN module, a wireless ignition node. They're pretty expensive, and they have to be programmed. Well, then in 2013, Ram decided to separate the two systems. So now this has a board in it, and it's got a 4-pin connector on the back. But there is a board in this, and you would think, I've heard some people say these need to be programmed. I honestly don't know, but I ended up ordering both of these from a company in Florida this is all they specialize in, is ignition systems, security systems, and vehicles. I'm going to put their link in the description below, so that way, they will program it to your VIN, and they will send it to you if you're having this problem. And then I think there's a core charge on this, so I'll have to send this back. And then if you buy the RF hub, you will also get 2 new key fobs. So everything's programmed. They send it to you. It's plug and play. But in 2013, Ram separated the two systems. So this is, for the most part, from what they told me, just an ignition switch. And then all the security system is on this thing. This has to be programmed, the RF hub. But all the programming, security, the signals, and this thing sends signals out to the rest of the truck, saying, hey, it's time to wake up. He's wanting to start the truck. Go ahead and start the truck. So everything is in this RF hub. Now for me, again, this is a cab and chassis single cab truck. The RF hub is in the back here, so you can't see it, but it's behind. You got to remove this panel, and then the RF hub is behind there. So, like I said, it's a really complicated system. I'm not a fan of it. Both times. So, in my 2011, it was the ignition switch. In this case, it was neither of these components. Well, this is probably bad because, again, when I would stick the key in the ignition, it wouldn't beep. And then if I pressed unlock and lock, it wouldn't lock. Now, if I pressed unlock and lock here, it worked, just not from the key fob. So more than likely my RF hub was still probably bad. But actually what ended up being the issue was I did have a bad wire going from the ignition switch to the RF hub. So on my truck, there's 4 wires. This is a 4-pin plug. Now there's multiple wires going to this RF hub. but 4 of those wires come from this ignition switch. And so this was getting a good power and ground, this was getting good power and ground, but one of the wires, there's a white wire on here, and it runs again to this hub, and when I did a continuity check on it, it was bad. Just to make things simple, I went ahead and just replaced the entire wire, and my issue's fixed. So again, if your truck is dead, and I mean, for me, it happened in probably 24 hours. I got home, parked my truck on a Tuesday, I think it was. Wednesday, evening, I went to work, or tried to go to work, and my truck was just completely dead. Like I said, the dash didn't turn on, radio didn't turn on. I mean, my overhead lights turned on. Headlights, I mean, yeah, the batteries were great. So I tested the batteries, tested fuses, and so I just figured, well, probably one of these or both of these have gone bad, more than likely probably this, but just to be safe, the truck's 10 years old. These were the originals. I just went ahead and got both of them replaced. But again, there is a website. I'm going to put their link in the description below. If you are having issues with your Ram or Dodge vehicle not starting, they do have a technical support as well, but they're not going to take like any responsibility, like, oh, we're not ASE mechanics, but this is what we see a lot. I mean, that's what they're going to do. So yeah, that's my biggest complaint about this, but it can be fixed. But yeah, I would just make sure, do your checks first. If you have a scanner, hook your scanner up, see, I could still hook my scanner up to the truck and get codes and data information, even though I couldn't turn the key to the on position. You can still get information from the truck, as long as like your fuse box ain't bad or something like that. But other than that, that's all I got to say. Again, hopefully this helps somebody out, especially if you have a Ram truck. More than likely, again, if it's like a 2012 on back, you very well could have a bad ignition switch. If it's a 2013 on up, it could be one or the other, the switch or the hub. But from what I've been told, they see more problems with the hubs than the switches. And then you also could have a fuse problem, or you could also have a bad wire. And like I said, this has to be programmed. I'm still not 100% sure if this has to be programmed or not. I think they told me it didn't have to be, but for sure the RF hub has to be programmed. If your truck is a 2012 in a 2011, then yes, I know for a fact the ignition switch has to be programmed. If you guys have any questions or comments or concerns, just put them down in the comments below. If this video helped you out, like and subscribe. Check out my other content. Appreciate you guys.